everyone, and welcome to Soul Reconnection. My name is Maitreya, and today I'm going to be talking all about 10 things that I wish I knew before I was 20. And this was a focused journaling exercise that I'd set for myself. And I was inspired by another video, and I'll definitely link that video below. And it was a lady, I can't remember her name. She went around the world and she was talking to different people, and they were talking about their timelines and different things that they struggled with from their culture and their tradition and from their parents. And I thought this was an excellent opportunity for me to kind of go into my own past, especially as I'm 29 this year, so I'm turning the big 3-0 next year. Currently in my Saturn return and currently preparing myself for the rest of my life. So I think this is really important because me in particular, and I know a lot of other people, probably had some really false ideals about the 20s, you know, being 20, being past 20. That gap from like 20 to 30, I feel like it's just so much unnecessary anxiety that we don't need to be going through. But let me know what you think. Like, I'm going to be telling you guys what my perspective is about, you know, some of the things that I feel like we all should have known. But I'd definitely love for you to comment your own. And I guess a lot of this is based on my own experiences. So don't shoot me. I'm just expressing my story. Okay? I know I'm a little bit goofy. The first thing I wish I knew before I turned 20 was that you're not going to have your life figured out before 30. I'm not going to know what my life is really going to look like and what I really want until after 30. I feel like the first set of anxiety comes when you're doing your GCSEs and you're faced with this first level of anxiety of decisions that you have to make, of, you know, you have to choose your courses. So these courses, that's going to lead to college and uni, and it's almost like you have to have university and your career and your direction in your mind at the age of like 14, and that's really impossible. And I feel like it's really unfair for children to have to make those types of decisions, especially with a lot of the fear that is projected onto them in terms of, if you don't complete your GCSEs and if you don't pass your GCSEs, and you basically messed up the rest of your life. And these are fears that were actually projected onto me, and I really struggled in school, like for many different reasons. I was always intelligent, but I had difficulties with learning and just difficulties in school altogether. Like, if autism was a thing back in the day, I probably would have been labelled on the spectrum. These are things that were just not picked up, so I didn't really have a lot of support in school, but I digress anyway. But I just feel like that decision was actually a very major decision, and it created so much anxiety for me. And I actually chose music, I chose drama, and I chose media studies. And music was just an obvious choice for me because, you know, it runs in my blood. It's something I bleed. I literally bleed music. I do music in my sleep. It's something that, you know, I absolutely love. So it was just inevitable that I was going to take music anyway. But I felt like it was just a cop-out because I didn't really know what else I wanted to do. And that really created anxiety even into college, where I did the same thing. I still chose another music course. So yes, I did think that I was going to be doing music, but I didn't have the option to really explore what I really wanted to be doing. And I felt like I was rushed in the decisions I had to make in understand what I wanted to do and understand the life that I'm committing myself to. And then you get to university where you have another decision where you have to make at 18. And it's like, you still don't know what you want to do. And then people actually get at people who don't actually complete their degrees, which I'm one of them. I didn't complete my degree. I did a degree at the University of Wolverhampton where I was doing music performance, and I thought, yeah, I wanted to be a music teacher. I thought, yeah, I wanted to really like go deep into music. And then I actually got to my last module and I was like, I don't want to do this. I didn't really know what that feeling was until a few years later. And this was only a few years ago because I went to university when I was 23. But I still didn't know what I wanted to do. And so it's like, I feel like a lot of these false expectations from society, from my parents, like, come on now, mom, dad, I'm sure you didn't know what you wanted to do at 21. So why do these expectations like get fallen on us? And, you know, when we're not actually achieving these false expectations, it's like, the anxiety falls in, the depression falls in, you know, the judgment falls in. Oh, what's she doing with her life? Why isn't she here? Why isn't she there? And it's really irritating. So I feel like I really wish that I knew this beforehand. And I really wish that my parents would have told me what their life was, because I feel like a lot of the times with Caribbean parents, not even just Caribbean parents, just parents in general, like especially black parents, like they don't actually share a lot of their story. Like I don't really know much about my parents' past. I don't really know about their struggles. They didn't pass on to me their experiences. So they expected me to go through life, me to be successful and, just get through with flying colors, but you didn't actually show me or share with me any of your struggles so that I could actually, have a reference point of life. I literally had to go through life just feeling my way through. Like, I feel like a lot of the time my parents can give us the illusion that life is okay. I said this to my parents the other day, and I was like, growing up in the UK, I'm kind of upset because my parents came to the UK in a time where racism was rampant. They came in a time where, it was no blacks, no Irish, no dogs. Like, that was the type of reality they were living in. However, I haven't heard about those experiences. And I really felt like I grew up very shielded and very unaware. It's not to say that I didn't know what racism was, but I didn't know how that existed in the society today because I wasn't really exposed to it, and I didn't really know what was happening. I feel like that's a major thing that we all need. And I do speak to any parents, especially those that are older, that may be listening to what I'm saying. Please speak to your children. Please share this knowledge onto your children, because we need to know. We need to know your struggles, not just so that we can be like, oh. But I feel like it actually makes you human, because we get to see the humanity in yourself rather than the person who's actually trying to almost fit an image of mum and dad. Like, I feel like that plays off a lot of the illusions, and we kind of just need to cut that out. The second thing I've learned in my 20s is there's two timelines. There's one timeline for your expectations, and there's one timeline for your aspirations. And I feel like a lot of them get muddled up because our parents and our family get involved in this decision. A lot of the time we're trying to find ways to please our parents rather than actually achieve what is it that we really want to be doing. And I feel like I had fitted into that category very well. And it's really upsetting because I'm a musician. I love music. But I remember as a child, I actually said I didn't actually want to be a musician. I didn't want to be an artist. I didn't actually want to be doing the same thing that my family does. Like, all my family are musicians. I didn't want to do that. I always instinctively knew that I was always meant to be doing something different, and I was always somewhere else. And I felt like I didn't have the chance or the opportunity to be able to cultivate that within myself, because it's always the expectation of trying to make your parents proud. And every time I did make a step that didn't make sense to them, they would make me feel even worse about the decisions that I'm making, not taking into account that I really don't, I'm just exploring life too, just like you had the opportunity to explore life. But, like, I'm trying, okay? And so, one of the things that also happened, I can't remember what it was. I think it was in college, and I wasn't able to complete college either. There was so much that was going on emotionally that I just could not commit myself to that process. Right now, where I am in my life, I've actually got qualifications. I never had qualifications prior to the last few years. And that itself is really amazing. But why that's important is because, yes, when I was younger, I struggled a lot, but not many people tried to understand why I was struggling. I remember one time when my mum said to me, oh, now I'm upset because I'll never be able to see any of my children go to university and be successful and da-da-da-da-da. That is too much. For someone who's still trying to find their way in life, it's too much unnecessary pressure. It's not like life isn't already stressful as it is. I remember that's something that always held to me, and it actually made me feel so much more worse. What I wish she would have done is just encourage me to be like, okay, you may not know what's going on, but you know what? You will find it. And I feel like that would have actually supported me much more, because I feel like this journey was just really crazy and it could have been made so much more simpler. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of us really relate with this because, our parents always want something else for us, and especially in a lot of African cultures, like there's that whole thing of, okay, a doctor or this, like really, and even in Asian cultures as well, like there's always a push to like those higher professions, but then not even recognizing the anxiety that comes with that just for studying that and just doing that type of work. And it's like, it's a lot. And I feel like a lot of us have not been given an opportunity to actually discover what we actually want to do. A lot of it has just been pushed onto us and we've just had to accept it. So One of the things I wish I'd learned is that I have two timelines and I have two choices. The choice that my parents or my family or everyone else wants to be able to push onto me, and the choice that I can choose, the choice that was always innate within me. I'm a divine sovereign being within myself. Even though I came through the portal of my mother, I came through sovereign with my own divine will, with my own divine purpose, and it's for me to begin to find it. And I feel like a lot of the time, our parents need to begin to actually support that and really pay attention to that, because they don't need to be creating more anxiety for us than we've already got. And yeah, that kind of leads into my next thing, which is basically saying, like, it's okay to choose the life you want. Like, now that I'm in the place where I'm at now, like, I've made my decision that, okay, like, music is not the only thing that I really want to be investing all of my time in. And there was one thing that my dad said to me that really, really hurt me one time, that I realized is still actually hurting me, which is something I need to be dealing with. But I remember he had said to me, and it was not too long ago, he was like, Naomi, you don't have any spiritual gifts. You need to let that delusion go out of your head. The only gift you have is in music, and that's what you need to pursue. And one thing that he'll continually keep saying is, oh, your life was so much better when you was doing music. Do you know how successful you'd be if you were still doing music? And it's like, I'm not doing music right now, but can you at least just be proud for what I'm trying to do right now? Like, I'm trying here. Like, it's not like I'm not trying. So I feel like our efforts just need to be celebrated and recognized a bit more, because like I said, this journey is not easy, and I'm sure they know it's not easy too. The third one is abandoning your hopes and dreams for someone else. And this can fall into so many different categories of, you know, relationships. I remember when I was actually had a contract in Greece, and I was able to go out and be singing and dancing for a few months, and it was an amazing opportunity. And at the time, I was actually trying to find a job, and I realized I couldn't find any jobs in the UK. So I was like, okay, well, it's time to go abroad. And that was my opportunity. That was my ticket. I was only 19 at the time, and this was like my big opportunity to like really explore the world. And I'm really grateful that I took that opportunity, because it allowed me to experience so much and even just explore so much. Like, I was able to like just be out the country. You know how many people actually move out of the country and work out the country? I mean, that's an experience that a lot of people want to experience, and I was able to experience that. And I remember the relationship that I was in at the time, he made it really difficult for me to actually make a decision. Well, at the time, I was actually making a decision if I was going to go to Spain or Greece, because I was going to do Sister Rap, but I digress. But I was still going to leave the country anyway, because of his attachments to me and his possessive nature over me, and didn't really want to let me go. And I can get it, you know, it's not everyone wants to be able to take that journey with you, but I had to make a decision for myself and be like, okay, this is my dream. This is something, you know, I've always wanted to be doing, and I have to make this decision for myself. And yes, this is me being selfish right now, but I think that there is some times when I do need to be selfish, and that was one of them. This can happen in relationships. It can happen in your family. Sometimes you have to abandon your dream for your family, because a lot of the time we're trying to make our parents proud. And I feel like that's really toxic in itself, because a lot of us were exposed to the love language of acts of service, and that was probably the only love language we was exposed to. If maybe buying of gifts, always like whenever she was sorry or something, she'll go and buy you gifts, and then it'll be like, okay, that's cool, but it doesn't really cover over what just happened. And then with acts of service, it's like, think what you do will make them love you. I always try to do things to make my parents love me, and for some reason that never worked. Then I started taking that toxicness into my relationships, trying to do things so that they can love me, and then I realized this is not actually working, and this is actually really toxic. I feel that this didn't even happen in jobs. I had to make a decision. I ended up taking a corporate role just so that I could, you know, get by for a few months, because I was freelancing at the time, and the job didn't allow me to do my music. I wasn't able to go to my rehearsals, I wasn't able to do gigs, and I had to make a sacrifice. And you know, I ended up abandoning my dreams for a few months, until I had to be like, no, I can't leave that. I have to go pick that back up. I have to go resurrect that. So this can happen in so many different ways, and I feel like it's important to remember what's true to you, what really makes you drive, what really makes you passionate, what makes you want to get up in the morning. That's what you should be pursuing, and that's what you should be doing for a career. You shouldn't just be doing a career just because you can, just because it sounds good, just because when you say it to someone, or when your parents can be able to go down to family functions and be like, oh, my daughter's a barrister. Why? It's unnecessary. Marriage and children expectations. So I had my child at 28. And I feel like there's a lot of expectations. There's a lot of societal pressures when it comes to marriage and children. And it's funny because I remember being younger, being a teenager. I remember at 21, I had my life figured out, girl. I was like, yeah, 21, I'm gonna be married, have my children, and have my 5 children. 28 and I have 1. And it's like, life really doesn't really go like that. But you know what? But I'm really glad that I did have my child late, because you know why? There's so much wisdom that I can give him now from my experiences. Like, we're both sharing our same Saturn and Capricorn. So there's a lot of lessons that I've learned that I can now give to him from a place of wisdom, rather than trying to figure out this journey on the go. Like, you know, I'm always trying to figure it out. But I feel like when we're having children, there needs to be some substance that we should be able to give them. And I'm just glad that I'm able to do that at this stage in my life, where I've been able to go through self-discovery and, you know, have a bit more idea about who I am and what I'm meant to do. And I'm not spending that time trying to work that out whilst my baby is still a baby, or whilst my baby is growing. There's a lot of pressure when it comes to society. And for those, especially those that may have grown up in church environments, marriage is always pushed, is the ultimate goal, is the ultimate destination. And it's like, it's really not. There's so many other destinations before you hit marriage, like, that you can actually celebrate for yourself. And I feel like it creates a recipe for disaster. It creates a recipe for divorce before you've even got married, because you're actually getting married for the wrong reason. You're actually getting married for more superficial reasons. It's too much. I think another one for me was trends. And I've always had a struggle with misunderstanding, and always been like the misfit, or the black sheep, or the one outside, or you know, I've never really fitted in with society. And I think one of the best things that I wish I knew before I was 20 was that it's okay to not be able to fit in. It's okay to just be you. It's okay to be unique. So in school, everyone's hair was permed. Everyone's hair was straight and straightened. So I wasn't allowed to get my hair straightened until like later on in high school. So I was like really rocking those 2 buns, the bubbles, and you know, the at that time we didn't have edge control, we didn't have gel, so there wasn't a lot of stuff for natural hair that was actually beneficial. But I remember I started to feel really isolated and really just didn't fit in, because even though like my hair's nice, but like I wanted to look like everyone else. And I remember, I think it was my 23rd birthday, I cut all my hair off and actually permed it in like a Halle Berry style. And I remember looking at myself and I was like, I look like 36. At the time I was only 23. Like, that is not acceptable. I look older than I am right now. And I remember about 2 months later, I literally cut off my hair. I was like, I can't be doing this perm stuff. Like, my hair feels like hay. I don't like this feeling. Why do people do this? Like, after that first wash, it's not cool anymore. I feel like it took me a while to be able to accept you're okay just the way you are, you know? And I've had natural hair my whole life. I can count how many times I've had a weave in my hair. I can count how many times I've had braids in my hair. And it's not to say that I'm any better than anyone else, but it's just, I don't really feel like I have to always do that. Like, you don't have to take on every trend. I think that was a powerful lesson for me, and it took me a long time for me to be able to accept that lesson. And so I really wish that I said this to my 20-year-old self. So the next one is not controlling your emotions, because my parents, like, they don't show their emotions. I don't really know how they feel. I've only bumped in on my dad one time crying when my auntie passed away. Other than that, I've never seen him cry. And my mom, I've never seen her cry either. And I feel like that's really unhealthy. And I feel like I grew up with this whole thing of you can't show people how you feel. And I feel like a lot of that was picked up because I was very emotional when I was younger. Very, very emotional, very, very sensitive. And I remember that was something that people saw negatively. Like, they would be like, oh, why are you so emotional? Why are you so emotional? And so for me, it really made me retreat into myself, where I was like, oh, no one's gonna call me emotional again. No one's gonna call me weak again. No one's gonna. And I created a cage for myself that probably was more destructive than it was before. Because me holding back my emotions, what did that do? Produce fibromyalgia, chronic pain syndrome. That's what happens when you suppress your pain. Your body fights back. It creates pain in different areas. It's just energy that needs to be released. And this was a lesson to me. Like, me getting sick with fibromyalgia was a big lesson for me to learn how to process my emotions. And that's what I did. This happened when I was 21 and I was actually paralyzed. I was wheelchair bound. So this hit me really majorly, and it took a really big hit for me to begin to wake up and learn how to process my emotions. And that's actually when I really started this self-healing journey, because I wanted to learn how to manage my emotions. I wanted to learn how to master my emotions and not hide from them, not feel like there's anything to hide away from as well. So that's something I really wanted to do. And the last one I wanted to do is pineapple belongs on pizza. But ask somebody. No, I'm joking. I'm really joking. No, that wasn't my 10th one. My 10th one is ideals and roots have projections. So what I mean by that is ideals are based on our own personal experiences, and a lot of the times they can be projections. So when we're talking about I want a good man, I want a good woman, that's based on our own projection of our own experiences. If you've had negative experiences with men or with women, then your ideal of that person is going to be quite extreme, because a lot of the expectations are not going to be that realistic. So when we look at Disney and we look at the relationships that are portrayed in Disney, you know, you've got the princess, you've got the prince, and they get together, they get married, and then they live happily ever after. That never happens. And most of the time, and this is for me, I can only speak for myself, it's because I'm trying to get away from what I've just come from. So I'm trying to literally create the flip response or the flip reality of what I've just come from. And sometimes that's not always that realistic. So I feel like we do need to value our ideals and evaluate where they're coming from, where they've been influenced from. Are they realistic? Is it a false expectation? Is it too much? I think these are things that we do need to ask ourselves, because we've really been given like a false perception of reality, and we need to begin to, like, you know, unwrap that ourselves because we've been sold a lot of false truths, guys. Sorry to tell you that. But this was just a few of the things that I've learned, and I'm sure there'll be so much more that will come up. But I just wanted to share this, and I wanted to just have a conversation and just challenge anyone to actually just share, like, what are the things that you wish that you learned when you was 20? And what are the things that you wish that you could say to your 20-year-old self, or even to another 20-year-old? I'm sure there's loads of 20-year-olds that you can begin to encourage and share your side of your journey. So let's use this opportunity, because I feel like we all need it. So that was a few of the things that I've learned. I just encourage you guys to share some of the things that you've learned. Let's have a conversation about it. Comment below. I'd love to hear some of the things that you've come up with for yourself, because these are just a few, and I'm sure there's so much more that's going to come back up. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the other side.